Uh, uh, I am Alexa Mavrodis, Chair of the Subcommittee. I know there are several of you here to give public comment, and I welcome you and look forward to hearing what you have to say. Um, Clinton, do you want to time everybody or?
Yes, ma'am. I have my phone and I am ready.
Alexa,
Okay. No, so
may I ask that you introduce who's here from the county for those of us who are not aware? And
Clinton, it's a little hard for me to see the list. Can you let me know who all is here? I know you are.
Yes, so on the agenda right now, we can do introductions right now. It's the first thing we have on the agenda, so we can do a round of introductions. Madam Chair, would you like the county to start?
Sure, go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, I'll start with the representatives of the county. My name is Clinton Edwards. Good evening, everyone, and I am the Transit Services Manager in the Transit Bureau. And I'll kick it over to Madam Transit Bureau Chief, Ms. Rivers.
Good evening, everyone. Lynn Rivers, I'm the Transit Chief. I'll push it over to Pierre.
Good evening, Pierre Holloman, Assistant Transit Chief. And I see Rocco is on as well.
Good evening, everyone. Rocco Visconti, Management Intern here at Arlington. And is there anyone else? Let's see. I can't see the list.
I think that's it, Rocco.
That's it. All right.
Do we have someone from the call center? I know there was some discussion about somebody who might attend.
Yes, would you like for her to introduce herself now or wait till 5:30 for the we have her as an agenda item.
Since Roseanne was just asking who's here, we may just want to go through a very quick list.
Okay. Ms. Hill.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sheila Hill. I am new since October 2nd with the STAR Arlington Transit Call Center. I've been enjoying my time here. I'm excited for this challenge, and I'm looking forward to meeting all of your transportation needs.
Madam Chair, that is everyone on the county side.
Okay. I know that there are a few people that are here to give public comment who have vision impairment. So I don't know if you want to like announce people's names from the list so they can introduce themselves, or what the best way of proceeding would be.
I would recommend that. I would just recommend that as public comment is being given, if that person could just state their name at the beginning of their comment period, then we would have their name for everyone.
Okay. If that would work for everyone, does anyone want to start us off?
I'll start, Alexa. This is Roseanne Ashby. Can you all hear me?
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure. I'm going to make a few comments which I've made before, but I think they bear reiterating at this point. I continue to be very concerned that these meetings do not meaningfully involve consumer input. We come here every other month to make comments, and we don't receive responses to our questions. We don't have responses to our concerns. And one of the agenda items on tonight's agenda, and I don't know whether you'll be able to deal with it because we don't have a quorum, is the notion of having some kind of a users group. And that would be made up of consumers with a wide variety of disabilities, county staff, provider staff, the STAR representative. And the reason we'd like to have this committee is that we need a dialogue with folks. Having the opportunity to present public comment and not getting responses to our concerns is not very productive. You know, even in terms of the notes that are taken, I know there were a lot of comments made in September about the public engagement, the concern about the survey, et cetera, et cetera. Those notes are not available. Now, I'm assuming they will eventually be voted on by the committee and be posted. But when I looked on the website, there's no notes from September. And I looked at previous sets of notes. There's very little information about the consumer concerns. So I'm really asking, when can we expect a more meaningful dialogue with you all? We want to make this program better. We love the STAR program. We're here to help, but it feels like we are just being ignored. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roseanne. Would anyone like to go next? Do we have anyone else who would like to give public comment? Or is that it?
Elected Kent Keyser.
Okay. Would you like to give some comment?
Sure, thank you. I echo Roseanne Ashby's comments precisely, and would add that mainly we're talking about feedback from the county staff. We're not talking about the subcommittee per se. But I also think that it's important to mention that we met with Dr. Wang about our concerns and the discussion of the call center contract expiring and being renegotiated was brought up. And we're not sure about what input will be there, will be provided from the community about what would be helpful for the community in the contract. But we definitely want to be part of that, and the user group would do that. And I just want to briefly talk about some precedent. There is precedent for such a user group. And I just randomly looked at some of the advisory committees in the county. The bicycle advisory committee has all kinds of different industry and riders and businesses. So it's a collection of stakeholders. That's all we're talking about. And the veterans group is the same way. The military veterans advisory committee. And the sports commission says that a committee can be formed and that the members don't have to be a member of the commission. So that's something that there's precedent for. But of course, the most stark precedent is that the user group used to exist and it withered away for whatever reason. We're not sure, but it's been there before. So there's definitely precedent for it. And thank you for putting the user group on the agenda, Madam Chair.
All right. Do we have anyone else who would like to give public comment?
Alexa, can you hear me? This is Joe DePhillips.
Yes, I can hear you, Joe. Would you like to give comment?
Yes, thank you. I find it very interesting. We've had two speakers so far, and they both have asked questions. And as per usual, there's no answer from the county, neither from Clinton nor Lynn. If this continues, I don't know the value of these meetings. I mean, maybe someone will answer that. Maybe I'm missing something. And for the record, I find it very interesting that Dr. Wang isn't here. in view of the fact that she was called in to meet with Libby Garvey. And then we thought we had a very productive meeting with her over a week ago, but obviously some commitment has come up to preclude her from being able or wanting to come this evening. And for the record, I find that very interesting. So again, whatever comments we make, they just fall on deaf ears.
All right. Do we have anyone else who would like to give public comment, or is that everybody?
Alexa,
May I ask who's speaking?
this is Paul Daddario.
All right. Would you like to give comment?
Yes, very briefly.
Please do.
Thank you. To all attendees, for those of you who don't know, I'm a blind resident of Arlington since 1980, and I've used STAR since day one. And to echo one item that Roseanne mentioned, we are big fans of STAR. We want to do what we can to improve the program. I would like to welcome, and I apologize, I didn't get her name. The woman, I believe it's Ms. Hill, who is now in charge over at the call center. And one thing I guess I would ask, unless I missed it, I get a lot of emails from the county on a lot of subjects, but did not receive one just indicating who she is, what her title is. And I would just add that Roseanne, Kent, and Joe, we're just three, but there are many more STAR riders who are very interested in STAR, and I hope we can dialogue with her whenever issues arise. And that's all I have for today. Thank you all. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Paul. Do we have anyone else who would like to give public comment? I'm hearing sounds. I don't know if there's somebody who would like to give comment, or if somebody is just struggling with their mute button.
So I have a comment. My name is Emily Zhang. My father was a client of the STAR and Metro Access, and he passed away right before the pandemic. So I want to share some observations, but that was like several years ago. I don't know if they're applicable. Hopefully they're helpful. So there were several situations that happened when my dad was waiting for the transit. So one of the situations was when the driver couldn't locate our address. So there was a duplicate address in Falls Church, and there was a duplicate same address in Arlington. So don't know why the driver went to Falls Church while we were waiting here in Arlington. So it took us a long time to wait. So that was one scenario. And other times was like we went to see a movie in Tyson's, but then the driver, we were waiting at a certain level garage because of the, my father's disability issue, and the driver was waiting somewhere else. So these issues, these different scenarios that cause the frustration for the clients potentially, do you think it would be helpful to gather all of them and to do training for the drivers so that they won't happen again? That's my comment.
All right, thank you very much. Do we have anyone else who would like to give public comment? All right, not hearing anybody. I have not heard that the other members of the subcommittee have arrived. So that, from what I gather, that would mean we don't have a quorum, which would mean that we can't approve the meeting notes from September 12th. I do know that someone had mentioned looking for some notes or some minutes or something like that. And if it's those, that may be why. So, part of the issue may be that unfortunately sometimes we don't have enough people in the subcommittee meetings to approve the minutes, which may be why some folks are looking for them sometimes and not finding them. My understanding, again, and I believe we have Pierre with us who may be able to at some point speak to this, but my understanding is that people can't join the subcommittee if they aren't on the full TAC. And unfortunately, I try to ask around, and it doesn't seem like there are people who are willing to join the TAC just to become members of this body. So as I've mentioned to some of you, there are a great deal of things that I would like to see us, address more quickly and thoroughly. But with such a small committee that doesn't always show up, I'm not sure how much I can do. Pierre, I see that you have your hand up. What I'm not sure of is if I should go over the request about the users group first, or if we should just go into that issue about the what is and is not allowed. I'm not sure what order.
Madam Chair, we actually have the minutes, the meeting notes from the September 12th, 2023 meeting available. The process that we have followed is that before they are posted, they require this committee's approval, and upon your subsequent approval, they are posted to the website. If that process needs to change, we're absolutely willing to do so.
Is there any rule under which they could be approved without a quorum, or do we have to have everybody meet? That's the question I have.
They can be reviewed. They can be reviewed. However, they wouldn't be able to be formally approved by the subcommittee without a
right. And you guys wouldn't be able to post them with formal approval.
Mr. Pierre has a comment on that.
Just some points of clarification. What has happened in past times is that if you did not have a quorum in the subcommittee, this could be voted up to the TAC for approval. So if you don't have approval here, this can be sent as an item for the TAC to review to approve. For the meeting minutes can be posted. Another point of clarification: to be a part of this particular subcommittee, you do not need to be a member of the TAC. If individuals, as far as the chair, recruiting members to be a part of the committee, they can go through the process of applying through the county on the county site, but you don't need to be a direct member of the TAC itself. So I just wanted to make sure that's clarified. The current charter does not specify the number of members on the committee. Now, those are things that this subcommittee, I should say, those are things that the subcommittee, as your chair and other members, and the TAC will need to decide to put membership thresholds on these committees or not, subcommittees or not. But at this time, there's no formal document to say that it has to be 3 members, 5 members, 6 members. There's nothing that exists that shows that. History has shown it's been 3 or 4 or 5 members over the years. I haven't been intimately involved with the subcommittee, but the subcommittee itself does not have to have all the members come from the TAC. I just want to make that clear.
Okay, I thought that they did, so I am very glad to have that clarification. If there are folks that would be interested in joining the subcommittee but not interested in going through the process to join the TAC, that would still mean applying on the website and getting the approval of the county manager. Is that correct, Pierre? Just to make sure.
go through the process. There's a process online of applying to committees. And I think the sub is still up there. I need to double check. But there is a process where people do apply for committees. The TAC is a committee of the county manager's office. It's not a committee of the board. I think sometimes you see commissions and committees. Commissions are appointed by board members. Committees are individuals who are interested in certain topics that go through the process of applying to pretty much advise the county manager on certain items. This particular subcommittee is a subcommittee of the TAC. So just want to make that clear that this is a subcommittee of the TAC, and the TAC is a committee of the county manager's office and not the board.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So anybody who wanted to be on the subcommittee, even if they didn't want to go be part of the TAC, would still have to go through the county manager's office, is what I'm hearing. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll double check the online feature, and I can send you the information about that so it can be broadcast out.
We can get in touch by email. How soon do you think you'd be able to get me that information, just so I can know?
Yeah, pretty sure I could send it tomorrow morning. Okay,
great. Then I can give it to folks. Great. The other thing that, which is kind of a segue into the next point, is people mention the desire for a users group. As they described it in their public comment, they would like something that is made up not only of writers, but also of staff, from what I heard, different groups. My understanding is that that wouldn't be something that I could convene or something like that. I did email John Carton, the chair of the full TAC, and I haven't, he finally got back to me today, so I haven't really had chance to have an in-depth conversation with him. But the last email I got from him was one line saying that if I wanted to convene something that isn't the subcommittee, that would mean getting permission from the county manager's office. Is that accurate? I want to make sure, because what some folks have said to me has basically been, if I don't see that this is forbidden in the charter, that probably means you can do it. And I don't personally feel I'm familiar enough with the sort of guts of how committees and commissions work, such that I could say, line 5 doesn't forbid it, so I'm going to go do it. So that's so it sounds like from what you've said tonight and from the discussion that we've been having, an option would be for people to join the subcommittee, but not the TAC, if they're willing to go through that process through the county manager. But that convening another group would be a whole other thing that would need to be, various different people would need to agree to authorize such a thing. And as it stands now, that hasn't happened.
Yes, so correct the fact that this is a subcommittee of the TAC. To have another subcommittee of a subcommittee, there's not, I would say there's not any room to do such. And also, if there was this separate committee, it will have to go through the process of being a new formal committee through the county manager's process. So I guess points of clarification, I guess, what would be this user group? What will be their charge? How will it be different than this subcommittee? And there needs to probably be some level of discussion to understand what the roles are, because this particular form should be the caveat to have discussion and to talk about issues involving accessibility with transit. That's why the subcommittee was set up as part of the TAC.
Madam Chair, could I ask a question? This is Doris Ray.
Doris, I don't know if we can do much about questions or if we can just do public comment.
It's on this topic. Oh, it's on this topic, though.
Can you make it brief, please?
Yes. The question would be the accessibility subcommittee, as I understand it, was chartered as a subcommittee to work on all accessibility issues, both fixed route and paratransit. And it would seem to make sense that if members of what's now called the subcommittee, right, is if they don't have to be members of the TAC, that if you're going to advertise, and on behalf of ECNV, I hope that we would be, if you are able to do this and form a committee that has members that aren't necessarily members of the TAC, that you might be able to subdivide it by some mechanism so that those who might be interested mainly in paratransit could form a, let's just call it a work group or something, right? That would report to the subcommittee, and that there'd be a work group then equally for the people interested in fixed route, Art Bus and whatever, whether you're also looking at recommendations to send on to WMATA, and it would make sense you might have more interest also in the subcommittee, because you would highlight the fact that it has both purposes, and that's my understanding of the charter, but staff can clarify that for all of us. And ECNV would be love to do outreach to members to make sure they know, to members of the disability community, make sure that in Arlington, to make sure they know that they can serve on your subcommittee.
Doris, I don't know what staff's response to that would be. What my response to that would be, just as somebody who has noticed that the subcommittee has struggled for members for a long time, is that perhaps we want to start by advertising, hey, we can have members that are not members of the TAC. And if there is, a great amount of interest, then I could see, okay, we want to do, these 8 people do paratransit, these 6 people do fixed route. But if we get one person and we're still struggling to have a quorum, I don't know that giving that person a special label about paratransit or fixed route would make sense. So I
agree with that.
What we might want to do first is now that we know, because we have confirmation from staff that people don't have to join the TAC, we should see, how many people are looking to go through the county manager. Is there a flood of people that are signing up, or is there, 1 or 2 more people?
Alexa, this is Roseanne, and I realize this is not public comment, but I just need to say I'm thrilled to know that this subcommittee could be opened up. But there's an urgency here because of the contract that is needing to be produced. And an ad hoc group, if you would be willing to pursue the possibility of an ad hoc users group, because the input on that contract is time sensitive. That's my concern. In the meantime, we can pursue the other, building up your subcommittee, which I think is great. But I just offer that as a friendly suggestion.
Do we have a timeline for the issue of the contract? Because I have heard comments from Ms. Wang that there will be time, but I have not heard this is where the negotiation is. This is when the negotiation expects to be completed. So I'm not sure what kind of time we do have.
I'll speak to that briefly. Of course, you all are aware that we conducted the first round of public engagement with the feedback forum. And we'll talk about this later during our Start Public Engagement. We will be doing a second round, and we'll be asking this committee for possible in-person locations to have an in-person event feedback opportunity during the month of December. After we receive that feedback, we will take the spirit of the feedback that we received during the summer feedback and the comments and concerns that we received during next month's opportunity, and we will be pouring those over the scope of the RFP that is looking to be produced during the winter months of next year. So early next year. But we are going to finish we absolutely plan to finish our public engagement before the RFP hits the street for vendors to propose.
Mr. Edwards, is there a chance that you could write that up and email it to me so that I can have something in writing to point to when people ask that question?
Madam Chair, yes, I can do that.
Okay, when can I expect it from you?
Let me say by the end of the week.
All righty. If I don't see it by next week, expect an email from me.
I absolutely will.
All righty. So it is 5:38, and there are a couple of things that we still have on the agenda. So I just want to make sure.
Madam Chair,
yes.
Let me refrain that because I need to touch back with our public engagement folks. I'm actually out of town currently and out of town through this weekend, so I need to be able to touch base with them and others in the Transit Bureau before I can commit to that. So let's say next week before the holiday. How does that sound?
Okay. I just, one of the things that I know that I've heard about is that, folks have said, oh, well, the county has said they'll respond to X or they'll respond to Y and not given a date. So I just want to say, okay, so you will get something to me before the holiday.
Yes, before the Thanksgiving holiday.
Okay, I will hold you to that.
Absolutely, please do.
All right. So the next thing on the agenda is the introduction of the new Star Call Center General Manager. I know she introduced herself briefly. Is there anything more that she wanted to say or let us know about?
Enjoyed the meeting. I've enjoyed listening. I think I might want to be on your user group. I think it's a good thing. It just has to get organized correctly. But like I said before, I'm here to listen to your needs, your concerns, and see what I can do to help make it a better ride for everyone.
I am thrilled to hear your commitment to doing that. Mr. Edwards, the one thing that I believe that you and I had briefly talked about is that perhaps you, me, Pierre, and John might meet to discuss this issue and kind of try to figure out how we might go forward with this. Does that sound like a plan to you?
And I'll shoot that over to Pierre as well. I believe Pierre gave us some background on how this committee could be expanded. So I don't necessarily know that we would need to meet with the TAC chairman, but we absolutely can if necessary. Pierre, do you think, given the information you provided, does this require me with you and I as the two staff leads for these committees?
Well, I think it's more, we could definitely, as far as staff liaisons, the conversation actually should be had more so with the chair and vice chair of the TAC and with you, Madam Chair, just figure out the business case and rules to set the quorum for this subcommittee. As I noted, there's nothing noting how many members should make up the subcommittee. That has to be decided among you all to note that, and that can be written into the charter to formalize it. It has never, I haven't seen any historic document to note that. So that's something, a formal way and process to establish membership for the subcommittee first, and then the process of getting members on the subcommittee who are not part of the TAC. So I think there's a conversation among the chair, vice chair, and definitely we can definitely be there involved, but the discussion should be among the TAC itself and you, Madam Chair.
I think that would be a great idea, and I would be glad to meet with everyone. I think that it would really, at least from my perspective, make sense to have everybody talk just so that we all are on the same page. This is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to look. This is what's not going to happen if that should be the case. You know, so I think a meeting would be a good idea. Would it make sense to have Ms. Hill in that meeting or not quite yet?
Oh, as
Not
noted,
quite.
yeah, as noted, should be among, like I said, as far as the TAC chair, vice chair, and with you, Madam Chair, and just definitely Clinton and myself, as far as staff liaisons can participate. There's be more so a conversation just with the leadership of the TAC and this subcommittee as well.
Okay. But I do find it encouraging that Ms. Hill has spoken about wanting to participate. Whatever the bodies do or don't end up looking like, I think that is a good thing. We've had STAR staff participate in meetings before, and I've always found that to be a positive thing. So I'm really glad to have you here with us, Ms. Hill. It is about 5:45, so do we want to get on to the presentation having to do with the summary?
Yes, I'll go ahead. Mr. Visconti, could you click over to your third tab and pull up the Starfall 2023 public engagement? So I will talk through this as a presentation just to give you all a background. Before I do so, Madam Chair, as I previously alluded to, we are looking to this committee for recommendations for locations within the county to have our next round of public engagement during the month of December. Our first idea is to have an in-person type of event. However, we would like to ask of this committee for ideas on locations. We've briefly brainstormed a couple possible places between some of the community centers. However, we'd also like to receive feedback from the committee as to where you all think would be a good location and time for this next set of public engagement. And
I was just going to ask, I can see the document that you've put up. I do know that we have folks on the phone and we do have folks with vision impairment, so I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
Reading
And so,
that, but
yes.
I just want that there's a lot of information on that.
Yeah, and because of that,
That's
I'm
not
just going
summarized
to.
yet.
Yes. So due to that, I am going to talk through the document. So what we have displayed on the screen is the summary of the STAR community feedback opportunity. This document is posted on the Accessibility Subcommittee website and is there with this meeting's agenda. So as I just walked through this, we went into the project background, talking about this is a shared service for people with disabilities. This engagement, we wanted to actually hear from STAR current service users and learn what matters the most to you. The next section covers the actual public engagement and the number of responses we received. We received 159 responses, which is about of the STAR registered users, which is more than a 10% response rate, which for county engagement surveys is well above the average of engagements hearing feedback from them. And of those 159 feedbacks that we received, 100 of those were online, 59 of those responses were the STAR Customer Center, where folks called in directly and provided their feedback, and we received 53 open-ended comments. And then this opportunity was available for 6 weeks. Many of you all may be aware that originally it was supposed to close on September 30th. However, at the request of this committee, the request was made by Member McNeil about keeping it open an additional 2 weeks. And we felt that was proving a great opportunity for folks to provide additional feedback. So the feedback opportunity actually closed on October the 15th. Mr. Visconti, if you could scroll down a little bit more. Here you see our additional outreach activities. Just it discusses all of the outreach activities, how we handed out flyers. We did presentations to several committees during the month of September. We provided postcards, and on October 24th, we extended the deadline. I think what is most telling, and what
I'm not sure if there's someone who needs to mute. I'm finding it difficult to. Herschel, did you just arrive? It might have been an echo from that. I'm not hearing anything, but
Mr. Cantor is actually muted, so I think he actually muted himself, possibly.
All right. Well, we are glad to have you.
Yes, I'm here. I apologize.
Do my best to, I guess I'll email you, bring you up to speed about everything discussed prior to her.
So what we heard, what was extremely promising during this engagement opportunity is that we found out through these surveys that 86% of the rider respondents indicated that they were satisfied or very satisfied with the STAR service. That made us feel wonderful that the service that we're providing is something that the users are satisfied or very satisfied with. Here in this graph that's now on the screen, you'll see the first question of overall, how would you rate your level of satisfaction with the STAR service? 56% of those respondents said that they were very satisfied, and then 30% said they were satisfied, which gets us to the 86%. In our next section, we talked about STAR service areas. We asked 10 follow-up questions ranging from available payment options to communications, upcoming, and ease of the travel. In this section, the satisfaction was highest with the courteous and professional behavior of the call center staff. Kudos to the call center staff and Sheila just being able to provide a professional, friendly, warm environment when folks call in to make their reservations. That was the highest rated feedback we got was the satisfaction with the call center staff. I'll get to that stat a little bit later. Also, the value of STAR for what you pay and the travel time related to trip distance. Of course, anytime that you receive feedback, there's going to be some things that areas where you can improve. Some of the top areas where the respondents said that improvements can be made was the cleanliness and maintenance of STAR vehicles, payment methods available, and the on-time destination arrival and day 2 trip communication. So Rocco, you can please scroll down. So on this, at the end of page 2, you'll see the graph of all 10. And then in the subsequent pages, you'll see the individual questions broken down by level of satisfaction. So as you have this chance to look this over on your own personal time, on pages 3, 4, 5, it gives actual pie graphs of people's satisfaction with the actual questions and satisfaction or dissatisfaction with those subsequent questions. Rocco, if you could scroll to the bottom of page 5, there is a question about how satisfied are you with the call center staff? And 77% of respondents said that they are very satisfied with the call center staff. As I previously mentioned, that 77% represented the highest very satisfied out of any of those questions. So kudos to our call center colleagues in providing an outstanding customer service experience. If you could scroll down to page 6, Mr. Visconti. So in the next section, we asked about rider priorities. And so respondents were asked to indicate their top 3 priorities for STAR service from a list. So for those of you that took the survey, you remember the drop-down list where you're able to pick your top 3 priorities. And on overall, the top 3 priorities for the STAR service are fair price, on-time pickup, convenience of scheduling appointments. That's the top 3. 4, 5, and 6 fall in this order: total trip time, ability to schedule unplanned or last-minute trips, and on-time arrival. And so we were able to come up with this priority list using the weighted average based on the 153 responses that we received. And where number 1 is the top priority, and I'll give you an example of that. Fair price was weighted 1.64. So the closer you are to 1, the higher of a priority it is. So the top 3, once again, were fair price, the price you pay for the actual service, on-time pickup, and the convenience of scheduling appointments. Next section, we talked about the open-ended feedback summary, and I will just give general overview of this. We received 53 open-ended additional feedback comments. Those included praise, general STAR staff and service. I'll just read this one quickly. STAR staff are phenomenal. They are responsive, helpful, professional, reliable, supportive, focused on customer satisfaction, and so easy to work with, especially when there are questions or issues. Mr. Visconti, could you scroll to page 7, please? So we're going further into the questions, more praise for the call center staff. And of course, once again, there were some challenges. We received feedback of timeliness of the challenges, and too many trips that don't arrive on time, especially those that don't arrive 45 minutes after pickup time due to the inability of select provider to find a driver. I stopped using STAR due to lack of drivers, and they were waiting 10 to 15 minutes and then another 10 to 15 minutes. Also comments about scheduling challenges, no rides given, and payment. One thing that really stuck out as a challenge to me is the payment system. And so it's comments like these that would be in the spirit of the RFP that, let's say with a payment system, part of the scope of the RFP would be asking for vendors to be responsive so that there is an electronic payment system so that passengers don't either have to get the coupon books mailed to them or they don't have to go to one of our commuter stores to actually physically go in person and purchase those. So those are the type of things that we were looking for and at the spirit of this entire engagement survey. Also had a couple of challenges about the vehicle and the driver. And then we get down into just suggestions in the last page of the summary. We had some suggestions from folks about scheduling same-day rides. Also, again, going back to payments, how STAR payment could be improved, including being able to pay without having to buy vouchers in person, as I spoke about previously. Finally, we have next steps on this last page of the engagement summary. The project team is, as I spoke about earlier, looking for opportunities to incorporate what we heard during public engagement into updated policy recommendations. We will be conducting development through fall 2023 with draft policies anticipated in the winter of 2023-2024. As I spoke of earlier, And the next public engagement checkpoint for this project is expected to occur early winter 2023-24. And of course, more information, you can go to the arlingtontransit.com/star page. And then there is my contact information at the bottom. And that's all I have as far as the summary of our first round of public engagement. And then, of course, I posed a question as far as locations for our next round for some level of an in-person engagement. Any questions, Madam Chair? And
the one thing that I want to mention is that I have heard feedback from some folks in the community. I believe Mr. Keyser has brought it up a few times, that other surveys asking about paratransit systems have included questions about, have there been issues with accessibility? A couple of things that I could think of that might be problems for people that I've heard folks mention are, if there's for example, a visually impaired person who needs to be picked up at a particular door or entrance, do the drivers do that efficiently? Do they get in touch with you efficiently if there is an issue? Do people find themselves getting no-showed for things like that, or does it get resolved quickly and easily? So, I mean, this survey is over, so I'm not trying to, pick at a dead horse or anything, but I'm just saying, some of the things that, if there are open-ended questions that you're going to give the community at some point, you may want to ask those types of questions. Think about the kinds of things that the kinds of trips that people need STAR to make, or the kinds of things that people need on a STAR trip, and how to make sure to ask them. For example, I know there have been some issues about accommodations that riders have asked for, and about, in the proposals that were scrapped, there were some questions about how that was going to work. Again, I know those proposals were scrapped, but some of the things that you might want to think about to ask the community are some questions about, how well does this work for you as a person with a disability who needs this specialized type of transit? I may be volunteering someone right now, but one organization that you might want to consult with is Independence Center of Northern Virginia. Doris Ray has often been given feedback during these meetings, either as a private citizen or as a staff member at ECNB, and I think she would probably have some great suggestions if you're not sure where to start. But that is one bit of feedback that I have heard on the survey. And I do think, as you go into other iterations, you may want to address some of that, because I know it's been a concern for some folks.
Yes, and I'll just make 2 points on that. Or I guess I'll make 1 point on that. With this survey that we just closed, there was an open-ended feedback summary for the catch-all opportunity for folks to be able to provide any type of comment. And with that open-ended feedback, 53 of the 159 respondents chose to provide some level of open-ended feedback. What you won't see in this survey is very specific information that, because this is such a because of this, the users are a very specialized population. We had to redact some of the public information for the summary because we didn't want folks to feel like they were singled out with their comment. Like if I said that they picked me up on late at this time at this place and I'm going here, here, and here, we didn't want to put something that would be able to personally identify an end user. So we had to scrub some of those comments just then. But there was an opportunity for folks to give additional information that was not captured in the questions.
All right. Herschel, did you have anything that you wanted to say or ask about?
I'm fine. No, I don't have anything.
One thing that I did want to have you hear, Herschel, just, that there is the last set of meeting minutes. Folks had asked about yet, and they're not up yet because we haven't actually approved them. And now that there's two of us, that's 2/3 of us, so I think we may be able to approve and get that up on the website. See it, we'll be able to.
That would be fine.
All right, I'm cool with them too. So if you get those up, that counts as us voting it unless we have to have all three.
Madam Chair, I was not able to catch anything that you just said. Something's coming in very muffled.
You were going in and out, but I assume you were asking me if I approved the minutes. Is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so that they can put up on the website.
For some reason, your voice is.
I don't know if anyone can hear me, but I just want to make sure that the meeting minutes can be put up on the website.
Yes, the meeting notes from the September 12th meeting are located here on the screen currently.
Okay, can you put them on the website now that you're approved?
Okay.
I don't know if you can hear me, so I will email you that question after the meeting.
Okay, you did hear me because I wasn't muted, or was I?
I'm not quite sure.
I did say, anyway, I meant to say I approved the minutes. But okay. I don't know whether you heard me and then I muted myself after that. But
I can hear you, but I don't know if people can hear me.
Thank you.
Can folks hear me?
Now that was clear.
No, folks can't hear me, so I'm not sure what to do about closing out the meeting, but I will put something in the chat.
Madam Chair, I believe you made the motion to close out the meeting.
Alexa, do you
So I don't know if you, and I don't know what I put on the chat. So if folks don't respond, then I guess I'm going to leave, and I hope people will take that to mean adjournment. I don't know what else to do. I'm not sure why people can't understand, and it looks like they're not looking in the chat either.
We were able to see everything in the chat, and we hear you loud and clear right now. Madam Chair, thank you very much.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So is there anything else we need to go over, or do I have a motion to adjourn?
Madam Chair?
So moved.
Yes, Doris, please be very brief.
Well, I know that the staff asked about suggestions for a place to have a public forum, and one that I would put into the committee is the auditorium at Central Library, and/or one of the conference rooms, because they're new at 2100 Clarendon, because both facilities are equipped with assisted listening systems for those who need that and other accessibility features. Even the county boardroom would be. Yeah.
That sounds like a great idea, Doris. I don't know if you heard, but I did encourage staff to follow up with ECNV about some of these questions. I know you've brought that up as a suggestion before. I don't know if staff have ever reached out to you, but I would just like to reiterate my recommendation that staff speak to ECMD about that, because I think you guys would have some great suggestions. Failing that, I think that I heard a motion to adjourn, and I need to go grab some dinner too. So I will be able to understand. I think I will call it a day.
Thank you.